Hello ladies. My name is Ricky Smith and I work at Freeman. I am in the marketplace outreach team there, and our primary job, the grant that we are working on, is actually focused on helping folks connect with insurance. Making sure that they have insurance that is affordable to them. We use the state exchange, the marketplace exchange, and we counsel people through that application and determining their eligibility and reading those results and making sure they get connected with the insurance they need. In the off season, from the open enrollment, we also do special enrollment periods. So if someone gets married or has a baby or loses coverage because they change jobs, there are a whole bunch of reasons that might trigger an SEP, a special enrollment period. So we also do counseling for those. But the other thing that we get to do, and my favorite part of my job, is actually being able to come and present health insurance and health literacy information to groups just like yours. So that's what we'll do today. And we're going to talk about Happy Life. It stands for Health Action Points to Power Your Life. And there are some really interesting things about health that we'll talk about today in detail. And we will kind of look at who we are and what the best version of ourselves might be. And we'll do a visualization exercise. And then we'll look at some drawing our own wellness wheels. And then actually some goal setting at the end. So that's kind of the outline for the day. Have any of you heard of Zig Ziglar? You know who Zig Ziglar is? Well, Zig Ziglar is a motivational speaker, and he's very, very famous. But one of his famous quotes is, if you want to reach a goal, you must see the reaching in your mind before you actually arrive at the goal. Have any of you ever done visualization exercises? Do you know what visualization is? This is what Zig Ziglar is talking about, seeing things in your own mind before you actually arrive there. One place that visualization might be used is in sports. So if you're a basketball player and you go to the free throw line, you don't want to miss that shot. The game could be riding on it, right? So you're standing at the free throw line and you put that ball up and you just hope it goes in the hoop? No. You practice and practice and practice and practice, and you also visualize the success that you would have if you were ever to stand in that position. So visualization is seeing things in your own mind's eye before you actually get to the point where you know, the game might be riding on it, or there's a really important thing that would be lost if you weren't successful. So what we're going to do today is a visualization activity, and I am going to read it to you. What I'm going to have you do is go ahead and close your eyes, and I'm going to read through this and follow along, and then we'll meet back up with you at the other end. Close your eyes. Right now, you're in your own space. No one else can see what you can see. It's a safe place. You're the only one there, and you're the only one that can influence your thoughts. You're the only one that can influence what you see. Take a deep breath in, and on the exhale, clear your mind of anything else. Listen to my voice, and allow yourself to envision and imagine. Imagine yourself in an empty space. In this space, you see today's version of yourself. Are you standing? Are you sitting? How's your posture? Are your shoulders shrugged forward or pulled back? Where are you looking? Are you looking off into the distance? Are you gazing down to the side? Are you looking straight ahead? What are you wearing? What color is your clothing? How does it feel on your body? Is it loose or baggy? Is it tight and form-fitting? Do you have a scent? If so, how do you smell? Do you see yourself as in shape, or do you see yourself carrying a few extra pounds? How do you feel? Do you feel happy, sad, depressed, content, satisfied? Do you feel healthy, or do you feel like you could be healthier? Remember what this person looks like. Now I want you to think about the future self. Imagine the ideal version of you. If you could be the best you possible, what would be different? Imagine your ideal self in a room. Are you standing or sitting? How is your posture? Are your shoulders shrugged forward or pulled back? Are you looking off into the distance, gazing down to your side, looking straight ahead? What are you wearing? What color is your clothing? How does it feel on your body? Is it loose? Is it baggy? Is it tight and form-fitting? Do you have a scent? If so, how do you smell?
Do you see yourself as in shape, or do you see yourself carrying a few extra pounds? How do you feel? Do you feel happy, content, satisfied? Do you feel healthy, or do you feel like you could be healthier? Now picture both of these people side by side and look at the major differences. Ask yourself, how do I become the best version of myself that I can be? What's holding me back from being this person? Your task is to think about this person as you've done today. Visualize who you want to be. If you consistently see yourself achieving your goals, your chances of achieving them and your likelihood of becoming that person you want to be are much, much greater. Now you can open your eyes. In your workbook, on about the second page, there is a space for you to write down some of those characteristics of the ideal self that you envisioned. So we'll take just a minute and you can jot down some notes. You can go back and add to that later if you'd like to. Just describe that person that you want to become. The things you might want to include are your job, appearance, income, where you live, your health status. And over time you can put more details in here. We're going to come back to this ideal self version in a little bit. Just about another minute on this, and then we're going to move on. But like I said, you can always come back to this and make some additional notes if you'd like. All right, now's when we get to have some fun. We're going to do some pretty discussion-heavy pieces of our presentation now. And we're going to talk about what is health. And when I say health, what do you think of? How do you define health? Diet? Okay. What else? What else? Alive. Welcome, ladies. I have to pass this back home. Thank you so much. We're defining health. Any other words that come to mind when we define health? Your mood? Excellent. So we're going to talk about what the World Health Organization defines as health. They say that it is a state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being, and not merely the absence of infirmity or disease. So it's more than just not being sick, but all of these pieces are part of our overall health. And we're going to talk about how they might affect each other, and we're going to talk about how to keep them in balance. So health has many aspects. We have social, physical, financial, environmental, mental, spiritual, and emotional. And we're going to touch on each one of these today. Each of these parts affects the others, and at some time in your life, one may be smaller or bigger than the others. But it's for certain that neglecting any part of this wheel could put your health in jeopardy. It could have very tremendous harmful effects on your overall health. We're going to talk about Joe. I'm going to read you a little bit about my friend Joe, and we're going to talk about his wellness wheel, but I want this wheel in balance up here for you to kind of be able to follow along. I'm going to tell you what Joe's got going in his life, and I want you to imagine how the different pieces of his wheel are affected. Joe is a young man. His wheel is a little bit unbalanced, and we're going to look at why. He's a husband and a father of 2 young children. His wife stays at home with the kids. He works a very physical job at a construction company. He works long hours for low pay. He is currently taking classes for a certification that will earn him a higher paying job with regular hours at the same company where he is. He's using a loan to pay for his classes, and due to his work and school schedule, he doesn't have much time to spend with his family and friends. Emotionally, he's highly stressed because he feels like he has a need to provide for his family, but he doesn't get to spend much time with them due to the long hours at work and study and classes. Spiritually, Joe has a sense of purpose, and although his current situation is challenging, he believes that he's doing the right thing for his family. So could you tell me from that description of Joe's current situation, what pieces of his wheel might be larger or smaller?
Like smaller would be like the emotional and financial and social aspects of it.
Right, emotional and financial and social would be small, because those are areas where he's kind of hurting. He's got the financial stress of trying to work his job, provide for his family, pay for his classes, so he's got this loan out. His social, he doesn't have a whole lot of time for the family and friends because he's got school and work. And financial, he's got a low-paying job that he spends lots of hours at. So those might be smaller pieces. What do you think would be a bigger piece of his pie? Physical? Yeah, he's probably in pretty good shape. His body's probably working at its capacity. What else might be a large piece of his pie? Intellectual, his mental, because he's expanding his knowledge base and he's getting the certification. And I'd say probably the spiritual too, because he has a sense of purpose, and that is really going to contribute to his sense of spiritual well-being. So now let's say that Joe's completed a certificate program. He has a new wheel. What's changed in his wheel? If he finishes that certificate program, how do these things all readjust to each other? What do you think?
Well, financial, he's he'd be getting paid more than his job.
For sure, he'd be paid more in his job, so his financial piece of the pie is going to be a little bigger. What else? What about social? How is his interaction with his family and friends if he's finished the certification program and he's working better hours and he doesn't have school to go to? He'll have more time, and so he'll be able to kind of have some fulfillment in that area. And what about emotionally? Do you think he's happier? Yeah, he's a happy guy. So our wellness wheel is constantly changing, and it depends on our circumstances and how we react to the things that are happening around us. So you can see that changing one piece of your wheel might affect other pieces, which is a good thing. Very good thing. Now we're going to take a look at each of these wedges of the pie. And the first one we're going to talk about is social wellness. So social wellness is going to be your ability to interact with other people. It's going to be good communication skills, meaningful relationships, respecting yourself and others, and having a support system that can help you out. So here's what I'd like to do. I'm going to ask one of these questions off our slide. We're going to talk about it in a little bit, and then we'll go to our next item. And the one I want to talk about on our social wellness is how you enjoy spending time with others. This is pretty important, especially you, like Joe, spend a lot of time at school and a lot of time working on schoolwork. And so your free time is pretty precious right now. And so what do you enjoy doing when you spend time with others? Sit and talk?
Yeah.
Food?
Yeah.
Coffee? Yeah. They like coffee. What else? What do you like to do with other people? Good.
I like skating.
You like skating? I hear you guys are going skating.
That is so hard.
So our social wellness really is about being with family and friends and having that network of folks around us that can help us out. And so that's really important to our well-being. And let's go to emotional wellness. What do you think emotional wellness is?
How you're feeling each day.
It is about how you feel. It is. It's about paying attention to all of your thoughts and your feelings and your behaviors. It's more than just handling stress. It's also about having a positive approach to life and being able to express yourself appropriately. It's about adjusting to change. So there are a lot of, sorry about that, there are a lot of pieces of this emotional wellness. And so the one thing I want to talk about here is how do you decrease stress in your life? What are the things that you do to decrease your stress?
Gym.
Go to the gym? Exercise? Yeah. What else?
Shopping.
Shopping. That might hurt the financial piece of your pie. But shopping, yeah, we do that. I crochet. I crochet like crazy. We have lots of little babies in the church and the family and friends, and I crochet nonstop. It's very rhythmic, and it makes me feel good to be able to make something from nothing and to be able to gift that to someone is a huge piece of my emotional wellness.
I go couponing.
You go couponing? That sounds like fun. Maybe that's helping the financial piece of your life. Very good. Very good. Our next piece is our mental wellness. What do you think mental wellness is?
Your thoughts.
Okay. You guys do this a lot. Mental wellness is about what you think, but it's also about your knowledge and skills. It's about learning new things. And gosh, if you can teach somebody else something new, that's a huge boost to your mental wellness. So it's about expanding your mind and growing, being knowledgeable of current news and issues, being interested in the community around you. So our questions here of these, this is the one I like to ask is, do you seek personal growth by learning new skills? What's something you've learned lately? Maybe not just in class, but it could be. It could be something in class.
It's good to have someone you can count on, like a support group.
Yeah, having a support group is super important. And it might be someplace where you would learn new things, like maybe you're in the English department and you're part of Sigma Tau Delta and you guys have a book club. Maybe that's something that's part of your mental wellness. Kind of a social factor engaged with that growth and that self-development. So making sure that you are keeping yourself open to learning and growing information and also skills is super important for your mental wellness. All right, we're going to talk about spiritual wellness. The purpose of life is to have a purpose, and that's really what we're talking about here. This is about having a personal code for yourself. My son, who's now in the Air Force, was a Cub Scout when he was little, and I was his den leader. And I always taught the boys that character is values and action. And so we're going to talk a little bit about character with our spiritual wellness discussion. If character is values and action, and my son's a 10-year-old boy, we talked a lot about patriotism. And the most patriotic thing that a 10-year-old boy can do for his country is to retire his nation's colors. To learn flag retirement, to respect his colors, to respect his nation's colors, to retire that flag properly. So if the characteristic is patriotism and the value in action is flag retirement, can you come up with something that might be a characteristic or a value that you hold dear and some sort of action about how you follow that through? So if something that you held dear was Mother Earth and you were interested in recycling and protecting the environment as a characteristic and value, what would be some action that you could tie to that in something that you would do in your daily life or as a service project that might relate?
Garden.
You could garden, that's a great one. What else?
Recycle at home.
Recycle at home. You could go out and clean up a trail. You could go to the annual bird count. They do a bird count in January, and they count the number and the types of birds they see so that they can monitor population. It could be anything like that. So whatever it is that you value and treasure and have as a personal character trait that you want to reinforce, you take action to help support that. And that's a really cool piece of our spiritual wellness. The next one is our financial wellness. And this one is really scary to some people. Financial wellness is really understanding where your money's coming and where it's going and being okay with that. You need to be planning for the short term and the long term. It's definitely about having a budget, understanding your financial situation, being able to save money, and also being able to donate money if that's something that you would choose to do to help a worthy cause. So let's talk about, do you have a good understanding of your financial situation as an example? Or do you have a budget? Does anybody have a budget that they use? Coupon girl, do you have a budget?
I can only waste $20 a week.
You can only waste $20 a week couponing. All right, we'll take that as a good start. So our financial wellness is just about keeping our finances in order, planning for the short term, the long term, and developing a budget and working within it. Our next piece is environmental wellness. And environmental wellness is what? Taking care of the earth. We talked about recycling and a few things. Environmental wellness is really trying to live in harmony with the earth by understanding how you impact your environment and taking action to protect it. And it's also about protecting yourself from hazards in your environment. So I did this presentation with a group of elderly people, and we were talking about their environments and their surroundings. And one lady said, you know, I had a electric cord laying across a walkway. And when I realized that that wasn't safe, I had to do something else to make sure that my environment was safe. So it's more than just recycling, it's more than just going out and counting the birds or whatever we're doing for Earth, but it is also taking care of your environment, your personal environment. And this is kind of the, do I recycle, do I take steps to fix a safety hazard? What I'd like to talk about here is volunteering your time, because your environment is also about your community. And so what are the good things that you're doing to help your environmental wellness by giving back? What do you guys do to give back? Projects in the past.
Well, we did a Doogie Creek cleanup.
Creek cleanup, very good. What else? What else do you guys do for service? Are you involved in your churches? You keep the nursery, or do you hang out with children and mentor them or read to them?
I volunteer at the Ronald McDonald's house.
Ronald McDonald House, very good. Anybody work over at Children's Haven, or we've got a really amazing nonprofit community here in Joplin, and so if you're not giving back of your time and you'd like to do that, there are lots of places where you can connect. And finding a place like that is just deciding what you're passionate about and then taking steps to be able to help in that area. So if you want to hear my personal spiel about volunteerism, you can ask Siobhan. She was actually in a class that I helped with several years ago, and she can tell you all about getting involved. So I would encourage you to do that. It makes you feel good. Our next area is our physical wellness, and this is aspects of life that are needed to keep your body in top condition. It includes muscular, cardiovascular, endurance, and flexibility, and taking personal responsibility for your own health care. This is one of those things where Do you know if you need to treat a scrape with a bandage, or if you need to go to urgent care, if you need to go to your primary care physician, you need to go to urgent care? It's kind of knowing when to seek help and what's appropriate help. Do you think ER is appropriate for a bandage required on a finger for a scrape? Probably not. Do you think the ER is warranted when you're moving a bag of things you cleaned out of grandma's attic and the picture frame in the bag breaks and it punctures your arm and hits an artery? That's an ER trip. And actually the reason I use that example is because my coworker told me about a scar that he had on his arm, and that's what had happened to him, is that he likes to tell people that he was bit by a shark, but really it was just a picture frame. And it did hit an artery, and so he had to go in and have surgery to have that repaired. But knowing the difference between the scrape and the bandage and the artery being an issue and going to the ER.
Like when I told me that he didn't go to the ER.
Oh no, he did.
Okay.
He did. He definitely did. And they did some pretty good first aid at home, and they got him right to medical care. But there are a lot of people that really don't know the difference between what they need to do for what kind of medical condition or issue or whatever. So just knowing that is a huge part of your physical wellness. So let's look back and see how, we're going to look back and see how different aspects of our health are connected together. So we've talked about all these different areas. Can you tell me one area that might affect another one some way? So let's say if I'm having to work 3 jobs to support my kids, my social piece of my pie might be a little lacking. Okay, what are some other ones that you see right off?
Well, the physical aspect, if you're regularly working out, that can affect emotional, mental, maybe even spiritual.
Right, so if you are really good in your physical area, it might affect your spiritual, your emotional, your mental, in a positive way. And so these effects can go both negative and positive. We want to remember that too. Very, very good. What about your wellness? What does your wellness look like? Is it balanced? Are there things that are not balanced? Some pieces that are bigger in your wheel, some pieces that might be smaller. What we're going to do right now is I'm going to have you go to your packet, and there is a blank wellness wheel. And I want you to write in all 7 pieces. I want you to draw the lines where you think they are for your own personal wellness. Right now, today, in this room, what does your wellness look like? We'll take a few minutes to do this one. Your goal here is to think about all the aspects of the wheel and draw them the size that you think that they are. And that wellness wheel that's in there, that's all filled out, it has some definitions there to help you remember what pieces are defined by what characteristics, and if you need help, just holler. Okay, we'll take just another minute. Okay, is there anybody who's willing to share the biggest part of their wheel or the smallest part of their wheel?
The smallest part of my wheel is financial.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think a lot of students are going to be in the same boat with that the financial piece of your wheel is maybe the smallest piece of your wheel. All right, does anybody want to share what some of the biggest pieces of your wheel are? Do you have biggest pieces of your wheel?
Mine are environmental and mental.
Mental and environmental. Very good. Very, very good. So, what do we learn from this? What do we learn from drawing our own wheels? Do you remember our beginning activity? And we had a mental image of ourselves as we are now, and that would be represented by this wellness wheel. What would be different in your wellness wheel and the person that you imagine being your best self? What would be different? Would your financial situation be the same? Would that financial slice of your pie be this little? Okay. What about the environmental part, the spiritual part, or your emotional part? Would things be more in balance? How do you think we get from the emotional, the wellness wheel you drew today, from the emotional and physical and environmental and financial situation that you're in today, how do you think we get from here to where your ideal is? What do you think you can do about that?
Finish school.
Okay, finish school. What else? How do you think you can impact your wheel most effectively? Do you think finishing school might be a goal that you have? What if you set goals in other areas of your life? What if your financial area, the goal was finish school, get a job, pay off loans? Okay. What if in your physical piece of your wellness, if you said, I'm going to work out 3 days a week because it helps my emotional and my social and my mental pieces of my pie, and I know that affecting this one will help with those. Sound like a good plan? What's a better plan than just setting a goal and saying I'm going to do it? What kind of goals do we set? Do you know about SMART goals? Okay, let's flip your page over. The last piece of your resource book is actually about SMART goal setting. And setting SMART goals means that they're specific and measurable and achievable and realistic and timely. And so we're going to put end dates. They're timely. We're going to measure them. We're going to put percentages. We're going to build our goals so that we can measure our success toward them. Remember, Zig Ziglar said, you're more likely to see in your mind's eye the achieving of your success, you're more likely to get there, basically. This is a way to see what you want to achieve. This is setting a roadmap for you to be able to get from the self you are today to that ideal, from being with the wellness wheel you drew today to being one that's more in balance. And our health and wellness is always changing. It is determined by you. You're the only person that can do anything about your wellness and your health. You're the only one who can take charge, and you're the one who's responsible for your health.